Is Sunday Rivals coming to Xbox, the PlayStation, Switch, Sega 32X, Neo Geo, Ouya, ColecoVision. By far, the most asked and answered question over the past 2 years has been about consoles and whether or not this game has a future on the one of your choice. I hear you and share the same sentiment. I want this game to be playable everywhere, including my own couch. But, and there's always a but, nothing can happen until after early access is complete later this year, plus an unknown, probably very long period of time before the game can potentially get ported to any system. Emphasis on potentially because the entire process is a complete unknown to me. So as I always say, if you want to play Sunday Rivals, Steam remains the best option for the foreseeable future. So much has changed since I made part 1 and 2 of this series early last year. It felt like a good time to open up the floor and hear what's on your mind. And as always, you responded, cause you're awesome like that. So first up, fumbles. Fumbles are currently absent from the game because I struggled to come up with a way to have them that didn't feel punishing or overly random. As the game has taken shape, I realize now that their absence removes an important part of football: chaos. I think the game is a lot of fun right now, but it could definitely use some more chaos, like those unpredictable table flip moments where suddenly everything changes. I want more of that. So at some point in the future, I'm gonna dedicate time into figuring out how I can get that madness into the game once and for all. Next, a lot of questions about working with other devs, especially if the game takes off. I think collaboration is great and there are definitely people I'd be interested in working with. For this game and my real life schedule, working solo continues to be the best option for me. I think it's fair to say that so far it's been successful, right? And while a lot of my answers always boil down to, well, when or if I have time, bringing more people into the mix wouldn't necessarily make any of those things happen faster or allow me to increase the overall feature set of the game. That's a pretty common misconception that more hands somehow equals more work. But honestly, this far into the project, managing a team of new people would just fill up a different bucket of my time. If the game takes off and I'm able to work on it full time, well, I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. Next, some good questions and ideas around additional game modes. So for starters, yes, practice mode is absolutely something I hope to get into this game after launch. Better yet, I have some ideas that I think could make the mode into something with real longevity, like really fun. Let's leave it at that, but it's high on my list of new stuff. Regarding more specific, let's call them legacy modes, like mini camp or skills training, I see the novelty in that kind of idea, but I think it rests just outside of what makes sense for this game. We have a lot of fond memories of that stuff in older games, but really only a small group of people would probably actually get continual use out of it in Sunday Rivals. Keeping on new stuff, a lot of questions about future customization options. When it comes to customization, we need to focus on feasibility and impact. Small details are nice, but time is money, and I focus on what will have the biggest impact on the overall game experience. For me, it's two things: body and new heads. So adding a third body type, which we'll call skinny for now, will have the most noticeable visual impact on the game. Proper looking quarterbacks, receivers, kickers, easily readable during gameplay. That's priority 1 for me if I jump back into customization. Then new heads, right? New heads add personality to the game. Think holistically. New faces, new hair, new facial hair, right? Maybe players take their helmets off when they win Player of the Week. Better highlight close-ups. There's a lot of impact there, to say the least. Okay, so smaller details, I hear you, but there's issues. Adding stripe options comes up a lot. This game has very few textures in it. In fact, the jersey stripes are actually part of the player model. There's probably a way to do it, but It's a lot of work for comparatively little impact. Adding names on the jersey would be complex and so small you wouldn't get much value out of them, I think. Adding more styles for jersey numbers, on the other hand, that's less complicated and would have more impact, so that's in play. Face mask options, yep, doable and decent impact, right? Third jerseys, right, more of a feasibility issue with save files and UI screens. I'm going to say probably not on the docket though. Last thing I'll say, adding mod support in the traditional sense isn't really possible with how the game was built. There's no textures or files to quote mod because I intentionally designed everything in the game using the same tools you have right now. All right, let's talk online play. Online play is one of the few requests where I can definitively say the answer is no. In order to have it in a game, you have to build around that concept from the very start. Shoehorning online play into a completed game is nearly impossible, especially for someone with my coding skills. In fact, the bigger issue here is that I actually don't fully understand how to make an online game. It wasn't something I wanted to learn when I started this project, so I quickly cut it as an option from the get-go. That being said, when Sunday Rivals hits 1.0 and I start thinking about my next game, learning how to make online games is the #1 skill I plan to build for future projects, so take what you may from that little nugget. Let's pick up the pace a bit. Would I ever consider going after the NFL license? Unlikely. I think the amount of strings attached to the league would severely compromise my vision and what I feel is important in the games I make. Would probably also cost a fortune. What's the deal with the preseason hiring screen? Yeah. Most likely this is going to be removed from the game for the time being. It's part of a bigger system that I thought was ready for season mode, but ultimately needed more time to cook. Why buy the game in early access versus waiting for full release? Normally I'd say because you have the opportunity to influence the game while it's still being made, which was definitely a bigger deal a year ago versus now when the game is so close to completion. So I'll just say because it's cheaper. Last but not least, which part of the game am I most proud of? This is like asking me which of my kids I love most, I think. I'm proud of the challenges this game presented and the solutions I came up with to meet them. A lot of the things in this game were well out of my comfort zone when I started. I mean, look at this thing. It was barely anything for a while, just a glimmer of hope, and eventually it turned into the actual thing that I envisioned in my head when I started. I'm proud of the pace I was able to develop this game at, like zero wasted time, and look at all these updates, tons of them, it's nuts. And I'm super proud of this community we've created together. Folks in Discord and Twitter, lately here on YouTube, y'all rode shotgun with me on this journey, and I'm thankful that all of you decided to plop down your hard-earned money for what if Roblox and Tecmo had a baby? Lots to be proud of and a lot to get excited about for the future. I can't wait to see what this year brings. It's going to be an exciting one, no matter what. This was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you sticking around, and as always, thanks for playing.